So we're saying, you beautiful people. So last time I left you with the darkness that comes, and that lasts a long time. So everything was being broken down within my mind, within my head. My thoughts were starting to be seen rather than heard. I was a bystander. I spent days and days, months, weeks in more or less silence. Like I said, there was no more interest, no more drive. I'd got to put YouTube on, but there was nothing I wanted to watch. Look at a movie, nothing I wanted to watch. Let's put some music on, nothing I wanted to listen to. There was no more spark. It was felt like a complete reset, and I was just a vessel with no direction. And everything was being analysed. So I would hear a thought and I'd think, oh, that's interesting. What's made me think that? And I would start picking back, going back, going back, going back, keep going back until I hit the seed of the problem. Not a problem, till I hit the root of it, till the seed. And the more I kept doing that with things, the more I realized the more I realized everything I believe to be true is just a belief. And the more I believe it, the truer it is. Reality as we see it, as we know it. It's a construct of your own being. For example, like you put a movie on. No, you create a movie. You're going to make a film, let's say. And in that film, you have characters. Now, for you to get your audience to understand what that character is about, you have to choose the dress of the character. How do they look? How they look will represent in some way of what part of society they're trying to fit into or they belong to. The way they speak will let you know the same things. It would have to fit the character you're trying to portray. Where do they live? What friends have they surrounded themselves with? What environment are they in? And all of these characters that you're making for this movie have to have a whole structure around them. And that structure is going to make the belief of them more real. Now, you're the main character in this film, just like in real life. In real life, what I've done is I've all my external beliefs that I've started believing, and my fears, my hates, my loves, my wants, my needs. Who am I as a person? My morals, my dignity, my love, my fear. at the moulding pots of who I'm going to portray to the world. So I will dress the way I want to be seen. I will talk the way I want to be heard as the character I'm trying to be. But the character I believed I was hurting, self loathing. From being for as long as I can remember, I couldn't be proud of myself. I didn't feel I deserved it. I believe truly nobody gives a shit about me. Nobody, including family. All of the negative things that happened growing up, I held because they reinforced my belief I was worthless. I wasn't wanted. If I was to disappear, nobody would miss me. They would play the roles and they would probably cry and be hurt and all of that, but they were just roles that I didn't believe it was true. So obviously coming through that as a teenager, adding on all the negatives, I fought wars, I've been in and out of jobs, failed marriage. But what I kept doing was holding it like scaffolding, building, just building and building and building. The older I got, the more scaffolding I created, the more I believed that structure was who I was. And the more I was reinforcing it by putting myself unknowingly in the situations that that person belonged to. I couldn't succeed. So I found myself sabotaging my success unknowingly. This was through the recent, I say recent, it was a few years ago. Now, from any position you're in, you right now watching, where you are now watching this, you have infinite choice. And I know I say this to some people, and I don't really talk to people about a lot of these things because a lot of people don't want to hear it. And, they're like, oh, you're mad. But from where you're sat, you could get up, walk out the door, and never come back. You could strip naked and dance in the living room. You could go and cook. You could come up with right just off the spot at least 100 things you could do right in this moment. Different things, all choices. Some of them feel stupid and funny. Some of them feel dangerous. Some of them feel exciting, but never would do it. And the ones that you are choosing to do are the ones that reinforce the belief of who you think you are. Constantly, all the time, you're making these decisions. Let's stop talking about you. Let's who I was. So, I've come to this realization. I've become isolated. I've refused anymore to lie and play the social bullshit games and entertain conversations with anybody that was just so mundane and fake and without meaning or soul, which then you realize that's about 90% of all conversation. I ended up alone a lot. Even my sisters, and that was, they'd laugh at me behind my back and things. Now, I've never been a spiritual person, ever. I've always believed in you have this one life. When you die, you're gone, you're dead. That's it, you're done. You go back to the place. It'd just be like before you were born. You get buried in the ground and you rot. But this was powerful, and it had me questioning. So I surrendered myself to the universe completely. Like I said, I stripped everything back like a tree cutting off its branches. I shaved my beard. I cut my hair. I stopped wearing named brand clothes. I stripped myself of everything I believed I was completely. And then I surrendered to the universe. I surrendered completely. I had no expectation for the future anymore. I started to make a promise and a commitment to myself that I would let go of the past. The past isn't real. It's not real. The past is an electronic signal running through the body mind that you're attaching emotion to and replaying. That's all it is. It's not real. It doesn't exist. You can't go back there. I don't believe there is a back there anymore, and I don't believe there's a out there. I believe it's a in the moment now. You've never been anywhere but here and now. That's it. Um, so I surrendered to it. And anytime thoughts, and don't get me wrong, I'm still working on being the bystander to the thoughts because I'm 42 now, and it's took 40, well, no, about 30 odd years of wiring me to who I believed I was. Now that wiring, I believed needed to be undone. And then I need to rewire the new person I'm going to be, but I don't know who I'm going to be. So I just sat in the moment every day, from minute to hour to day to weeks, not knowing where I was going. And after about 6 months of this, 7 months of that, I reformed the connection back with my ex, and it went fantastic. I still wasn't at a job. I still hadn't found work and stuff. But then being back in the relationship, slowly moving from the caravan back and forth to her house, back to the caravan, to her house, back to they got to the point where I was more or less living back at home. This place, I don't live here. I just come to see my partner again. I'm actually homeless at the minute, and I live in a garage. I'm going back tomorrow, so I'll make a video and I'll show you where I live. Still don't have a job, not for trying. Um, right, I'm skipping ahead. Let's stay back there. So I started to feel an anger, a frustration, and a sadness of the old me, even though I wasn't happy, even though I used to be the life of the party because I was so masking. I used to mask a lot. So because when I was a kid, I struggled reading and writing, and I have sisters and my mum, are very strong, powerful, independent women. Um, so I always felt inferior to everybody. So I learnt a lot. My mum was a shrink, so I used to always have to out shrink a shrink. It was a family joke for a while, but that played a massive part in trying to learn behavior, body language, what somebody means behind what they're saying. I spent most of my young teenage years really focusing on that. Um, so when I'd walk into a party or a do or whatever it was, I'd become loud and funny, and I'd say the things that people wanted to say but were too scared to, and just to cause reaction and smiles. I wanted anybody around me to feel important and loved, because I never did. And I knew what that felt like. I couldn't pass a homeless person without greeting them, just acknowledging their existence. A lot of people would come to me and unload on me because I would listen and I would support, because I didn't want them to hurt, because I was hurting. And I know what that feels like. I know what that feels like to in depth. Well, that went. I ripped all the masks and set them on fire. And the anger came because I didn't know. I wanted familiarity again. Even though I was unhappy then, I understood that world. I understood it. It made sense to me. And this one didn't. And I didn't, there was no expectation from the future. But saying that at the very beginning is very difficult, because we live in the past and the future. We never live now. It's always what's going to happen or what did happen. It's never, what do I need right in this moment to make this moment happen? And the answer is always nothing. But it's hard to live like that. So constantly just letting the voices, the ego, whatever you want to call it, just narrate whatever it wants to narrate. And I still do, and just look at it. And I found I was like I was quite embarrassed about myself. Like there's some of the things I was very jealous. Just some of the things I was very. Some of it was humiliating, but I reinforced my belief. This is the future. This is not the future. This is the universe. Let's say this is the universe teaching me my lessons. Now I'm paying attention. It's showing me. It's giving me the time in the silence and whatever to really look at what's going on. But I didn't want to. I wanted to go back to the old me, which is impossible. It's impossible once you start this journey. You cannot do it. But I felt myself getting sucked in. It's like a yo yo. You go down and then you come back up. And then when you go down not as far, but then you come back up. Then you go down, not as far, and come back up. Well, I'm still yo yoing. I haven't found my just nest, let's say. But yeah, I came back, ended up falling into the same rhythms because I was familiar with them, even knowing like the fuck is going on. I catch myself every now and then. But started very the thing that catches me every time off guard before I realise I'm going back is the future vision. So because I wasn't working, a lot of my relationship problem was to do with finances. I was putting a lot of pressure on my partner at the time because I couldn't find work. I wasn't even looking, to be fair. I was struggling. But then when I came back, I was aware. Money's very important, and so I was applying for work, and I was trying so hard to get work. But I used to be a tattooist, so then I was thinking, right, well, if I start getting my tattoo stuff together, I'll start trying to do that again. So I started back with my art. I have A levels in art. I've always drawn. Um, my partner bought me some inks and needles, and I already had my machines and stuff. Um, but then we were roller skating, and I completely fucked my leg. I broke my bone and just under my knee. My ankle separated. I ended up with plate and screws going through, but because that just flung up alarm bells to my partner, so then I ended up getting kicked out, and that time I had nowhere to go, so I ended up in a garage, in my twin sister's house. Um, and I remember being in there once again. I'd gone way back down again. I remember lying there, spider ridden, a garage. You can picture it. It was never designed to be lived in, and it had a bed and that in there, but we'd put it in there. Well, you'll see it anyway. Um, I remember lying there of a night time, in the middle of the night, crying. I was properly emotional. And thinking to myself, there's what, 8 billion people in the world. By this point, I'd been there for like 3 weeks. And just, there's 8 billion people in the world. And not one of them, not one, just one, would text me good night. There wasn't a single person out there that woke up in the morning and thought, what else I was doing? And just sent me a good morning message. And I caught myself in that moment, thankfully. I caught myself and seen it for what it was. And I was just back to the old me. Believing that I belonged there. Believing that, because when people ask me if I'm okay, I always say, yeah, I'm fine. And I shun it off. I push people away all the time. I don't trust anybody, no one. I have no trust in anyone. So I push everybody away. And I remember being in that moment thinking, this is exactly where I put myself. I put myself right here so I could feel this right now. So I could believe that I was still that person. See? I trust the universe and I end up right back where I'm meant to be. Well, in that moment right then, I could have done anything. I like wild camping. I used to do a lot of wild camping. Right underneath that bed I had in there is all my wild camping. I could have put a backpack on and just walked the world. I could have just gone. I could have got up and decorated the place. I could have just walked into my twin sister's house and said, I just need a cuddle. But then I wouldn't have been the person I was trying to believe I was. And from that moment, I truly, truly gave up on the future and started the rewiring. Starting truly believing in the universe will give me everything that I need and want. If I'm the creator of my own movie, I would not be that man. Then why am I doing that? That was another, it was so powerful. And what came after that has changed my life. All of it's changed my life. I say my life, it's just, but yeah. Anyway, I hope this video finds you. I hope this video maybe speak to somebody who's just feeling lost and lonely and just doesn't know what the hell's going on. And I want you to truly, truly know that you are more than enough. You are incredible. And you have the potential of anything you could ever dream of. You've just got to start believing it. I'll let you know in the next video what started happening and what the changes did and how far I've come and what my mindset is. Well, there's lots of things. There's going to be many videos of this journey. I was going to call it one step because that one step when I broke my leg really changed everything. But yeah. Peace.